Well, hello, my name is Jeremy Winston, and I'm here with Rachel Lammi, who is our organist at Kettering Adventist Church. What is the official title?
Organist.
Organist. Okay, well, it's official enough. I'm the Director of Worship and the Arts here, and I'm excited to talk to Rachel a few minutes about our historic and special organ. Can you tell us just a little bit about the name of the organ, the makers of the organ, when it was installed?
This is Cassavant Opus number 3089, and it was installed originally in 1971. It was intended to be a tracker instrument, all mechanical action, and the consultant at the time went to the factory and said, stop production, make it electro-pneumatic so as many people as possible can play it.
What does electro-pneumatic mean?
Electro-pneumatic means that when you press a button, it's like a little light switch, an electrical signal is sent, and then air is used to open up the pouch and let air through the pipe.
Now, when this organ was installed in 1971, it was really a major production, and it was a major event, not only for this church, but for this community. So much so that it was kind of celebrated within the community. Can you talk to us about that?
Absolutely. So a lot of the students from CCM would come up.
What is CCM?
A lot of students from Cincinnati Conservatory of Music would come up and perform here, make recordings here. Todd Wilson is one of the more notable ones. He's up at Cleveland Institute of Music now, and I have actually spoken with him. He remembers this instrument fondly. And it was at the end of the Neo-Baroque period, a time when Bach was really being brought back in a resurgence. And so the instruments in the Neo-Baroque period, today, some of them are not as favored simply because trends come and go, and people like a more orchestral sound.
Right.
And so some of that influenced the Walker editions that were added in 2002. Many organists from around the world have come here to perform. Dame Julian Ware, she was actually married to Larry Phelps, who was the tonal director at Cassavant at the time of the instrument. And this instrument was a bit of a love letter from Larry to Dame Julian Ware, his wife. It was all that she could ever want in an organ, and she actually got to come and perform it. He has since passed away. She is still with us in England. Simon Preston has come over. We've had people, my teachers, Dr. Ann Labunski, David Craighead, who have taught multitudes of organists, have performed here. And more recently, we've had Paul Basanth Jr., Emma Witten, and Paul Jacobs perform.
Right. And so and for anyone who maybe you're hearing this for the first time, you don't know Cleveland Institute of Music or Cincinnati Conservatory of Music, these are some of the powerhouses within this region of music educators, not only in organ, but in all types of classical music. And so to be noted and notable among these institutions is a significant feat, and it speaks to the uniqueness of this instrument. But also in the Dayton region, was it not? Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't it like on one of the top 10 things to visit when coming to Dayton?
It was either top 10 or top 50. I think it was top 10.
Right.
On the tourist sites. What do you do in Dayton, Ohio? You come hear this instrument in the 1970s.
Right.
Which is impressive.
Help me understand the way the organ was placed in this sanctuary and how the sanctuary was built to acutely support the sound of the organ.
So an acoustical consultant was actually hired, an acoustical engineer, to design the room to support choral singing, to support the organ. It is centered on the central access. And if you Google and look, what's the best location for an organ, straight down the center is the best location. And if you look at the ceiling is shaped to allow the sound to develop in ways that support congregational and corporate song and the organ. And its main aspect, the number one stop on any organ, is the room. You could take this instrument and put it in a dead, dry room, and it's going to sound like it's in a dead, dry room.
Right.
We do have some Walker Digital that was added in 2002. The reason it works so well is because of the room. You have Walker sounds in other rooms that aren't as live, and they don't get quite the effect. So the room is key to this instrument's success.
So we're about to go into a season of renovation to this organ. What does a renovation to an instrument like this mean? What does it entail? What are some of the things that will be done to help lengthen the life of this instrument?
So this instrument, being over 50 years old, I'm almost 50 myself, and those of us around that lovely golden year, we start to feel we fall apart, and our skin starts to sag. A lot of this instrument.
That's a lot. That's a depressing thought at the moment. But I'm sorry. Keep on going. Forgive me. We're getting away from the podcast.
A lot of this instrument. I was getting there. So our skin sags, right? It shows its age. Well, a lot of this instrument is made of leather, which also shows its age. Mm-hmm. And under every pipe is a little leather pouch, and those are wearing out. And within the chest, there are other pieces of leather, and those are simply wearing out. Mm-hmm. There are some pipes now that we can no longer even try to tune because the wind chests they sit on just sound like
right,
and they don't have enough air support to even be tuned.
And so the renovation will help shore up these parts of the
all
instrument.
The leather will be replaced.
Okay.
In 2002, we went from being electropneumatic to being digitized. Mm-hmm. So it's a more digital signal being sent instead of just simple light switches on and off. But those are going to be upgraded because computers after 20 years start to show their age as well.
Right.
And we actually had the delightful embarrassment during Paul Jacobs' concert that the organ completely froze up. Mm-hmm. And he asked, well, has it done it? Well, it had never done it before his performance. And I remember we were a bit mortified and thinking, right. What do we do now?
I remember looking back at you like, what's happening?
You gave me panic. The maintenance crew gave me panic. And I said, well, try turning it off and back on again. And that worked that time for the computer. But later that summer, we had to get some parts replaced and work done on some motherboards.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because you just said that computers after 20 years need to be replaced. I think we're about in a 3 to 5 year window where every computer needs to be replaced. I mean, if you think of your laptop,
yes.
Your laptop, I mean, after 5 years, you're already starting to think, I've got to get back to the store. So we're in that space now there are a lot of things that need to be updated.
A lot of upgrades just to bring up with current times, what can be done with memory levels and access to those memory levels, which allow more people to be able to play the instrument and have flexibility with it. So I will say, as far as organs, though, our computer systems tend to last longer than I don't know if it's planned obsolescence by your common desktop, but these are very serviceable. We're going to be going with Walker, and Walker still services things they've made since day one of their company.
And Walker's
Walker is the digital company.
Correct.
We have about 40 ranks of digital equivalent sounds here.
And what is a
rank
specifically for those?
A rank is a row of pipes that make a distinctive sound.
And how many rows or pipes does this organ have?
So we have 90 ranks of pipework playing and 40 of a digital equivalent. The entire antiphonal in the back of the sanctuary is digital.
And antiphonal, if everybody comes into the church, are the pipes in the back of the church against the wall. That's the antiphonal side. So if you say we have 90 ranks and you say a rank is a row of pipes, how many pipes are in a row?
It depends on the sound. Some have 52, some have 63, some have 12 in the bottom row of the pedal board. Some have 32 because the pedals, there's 32 pedals.
So I'm just doing the math. If we say some have 60 and we're talking about 90 ranks, 9 times 6 is 54, right?
We have about 4,800 pipes.
About 4,800 pipes. We're talking about 4,000, almost 5,000 pipes here. And we think each of these pipes has a leather encasing that has to be updated. So that speaks to the significance of the renovation, because we're not talking about just cleaning about 10 pipes or 50 pipes that people may see when they walk in the sanctuary. We're talking about almost 5,000 pipes where each has to be meticulously cleaned and fixed so that they can play correctly.
Right. And the way the process will happen is there'll be a 2 to 3 week period where they will have carefully placed boxes over all the pews. And this is a great time. Listen for the future when you can come help, because it's a great way to get volunteers involved to carefully carry the pipes from the chambers into these boxes.
Right.
And they are carefully packaged so they're not damaged, and the entire instrument will be pulled out.
Wow.
The console will be taken out and sent to the factory, and every pipe will be cleaned. We have some that have some parts that are sagging. Inside the pipes, there's a little slit that's called the mouth. Right above it is what's called a languid in a lot of the pipes. And gravity does what gravity does.
Right.
And over time, the zinc, lead, and tin, it just sags. And so some of those pipes are not able to be actually completely tuned right now either, because their equivalent soft palate is
right.
flat.
They're losing their integrity, the physical integrity.
But that is very fixable, and all these repairs will give us another, with the pipework repair and the leathers, a good another 40, 50 years of life, and the electronics, hopefully 20, 30 years.
So as we go into this renovation period, what is the significance of the organ in worship?
In worship, the organ really can lead us from times of joy into times of contemplation, which we need a lot of that in this world. It's a noisy world. It can be whisper soft. It can lead us in prayer. It can lead us in hymns. It can lead us even in more contemporary genres, actually, if I vary how I play the instrument. And it can really set the mood for the entire service and guide us from one to another. Most people don't realize that when I'm up here, I'm thinking, what key were we just in? What key are we going to? And while prayers are going on and I'm playing softly underneath, I'm modulating to the next place just to keep worship moving smoothly forward.
Right. I'm often struck by how many people comment to me after service how much the organ impacted them and really brought them into the presence and the spirit of Christ and worship every Sabbath morning. And even though we worship as a community, worship is also personal.
Absolutely.
So it functions in two perspectives. We come together, we sing together as a church, we sing together as a community, but we also have personal experiences that go unrecognized by the rest of the congregation. And I always find it so inspiring and compelling to know how many people feel a deep connection, a worshipful connection to the organ and how it connects them to Christ. And so that its purpose can sometimes go beyond what we will ever know. Because it touches so many hearts and has the ability to do what sometimes words can't do,
exactly.
what sometimes the singing voice can't do, or what the piano can't do. The organ has a special place in worship for so many people, and especially so many people here at Kettering Adventist Church, that I think it is important that we maintain its significance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Historically, what role did the organ play in the church?
So the organ actually was originally ridiculed by the church and called the devil's instrument because it was used during gladiator fights. It started out with the hydraulics. It had a very secular start. And somewhere around 700-800, but for sure by 1200, it was being used regularly in the church. And what changed was that the choir music was developing more into polyphony, and the more elaborate music needed something to support the sound. And the organ has a unique sound, probably the closest to the human voice of any instrument. And that is why it is so able to support singing.
Right.
And it was brought in to support the choirs. And then in the Reformation, people like Luther said, well, we're going to sing more with the congregation. And it just, it has grown from there.
Right. So this church has a very acute or specific mission around evangelism. And I think a lot of people are excited about the opportunity to be in the community and to bring people into this building, into this space. What role does the organ play in that mission?
Well, from the time it was conceived in the minds of the Kettering family and the leaders of Kettering Medical Center, George Nelson, they wanted a place that could be used for concerts for the greater community. They didn't just want it to be a church. They wanted it used throughout the week. And they wanted to have great organ music. They wanted a world-class instrument. And that's what they gave us. I've never met them. You've never met them. But we are benefiting from their legacy. And I feel it's our turn now to add to that legacy. So 50 years from now, there's another conversation of this amazing legacy, this amazing gift that has been given, that people we will never meet can be blessed through this space, this instrument.
Yeah, and maybe 60 years, hoping that they do some good renovation work.
Sometimes they can get to 60 years. Average is 50.
Maybe the quality of the leather is going to be a little better, this time than 50 years ago.
I think if we get the humidifier in the room, Jonathan, that we'll be fine.
Right. That'll help. But also, it is true that other communities come in regularly to the church to use it, and it's not obviously this is an instrument that is used every Sabbath for worship purposes, but we also have people from within the community that regularly use this space and are excited to use the organ. What are some of the other groups that you are aware of?
The most notable is Bach Society of Dayton. This is their main venue. Occasionally they'll do things further out in the community, but primarily because of the style of music Bach Society sings, having the instrument, having the space for choral music is elevating their art form.
Right.
And disclaimer, I do sing soprano in Bach Society, so I'm a little biased. Right. Go Bach Society. We also have Dayton Music Club does performances. This facility is used for scholarship programs of music club, and the Opera Guild has used it to do scholarship programs to young artists and have performances. We have Miami Valley Symphony has been here. The Kettering Praise Orchestra, while it is based here at the church and started from the church, is a lot of community members involved with that as well.
Right. So I always find it exciting, and I'll just say, obviously, I kind of knew what the answer was going to be to a large degree, but it is something that I'm very proud of Kettering Church to know that not only is this space a coveted space for the community because the acoustics are great, so the shameless plug, if you want to do a program, there's no better place than Kettering Adventist Church, but we also have an outstanding world-class instrument that comes along with that.
Yes.
And so as we continue to sustain and support those artists and musicians that want to continue their performance opportunities, this is a space and this is an instrument that we want to make sure everyone knows it's not just for the Kettering Church, it's for the community, which was the original intent.
Yes.
As we see so many changes in these days around music and the arts and churches, there have been questions: is the organ still relevant? So I want to ask you this: what do you feel about the relevancy of the organ in a time that has shifted to a lot more digital approaches to music?
So, admittedly, I have a bias because I love the organ and it speaks to me.
Right.
But I also know that various art forms don't speak to everybody. And imagine you go to an art museum. 2019, I took my daughter over to the Carnegie Art Museum in Pittsburgh. It's set up chronologically. So you start with the early arts and you work up to the modern contemporary section. And this is where I struggle a lot in observing art and appreciating it. And sometimes I get it and sometimes I don't. Well, this particular day, there was a installation in a room and there were modern chairs set up and there was a table and there was this glass cloche with a miniature city in it. It looked very sci-fi. And I was trying to figure it out, and I read the wall thing, and there was music playing and lighting, and I was like, what's going on here? And my experience with that is, like, I think some people do come into the organ and they go, I see what's going on, I don't quite get it. Thankfully for me in that case, my husband happens to be a DC comic geek and loves Superman. It was an artist's interpretation of Superman's Fortress of Solitude. So I could understand it. And so, I had understanding, and I still didn't. Wow.
Right.
And I know for some people, the organ isn't gay. But for other people, sorry, Christian, some people are like, the car doesn't do it for me. But that's okay, because we've got multiple ways to speak. And we can speak in many languages, and we can use guitar, and we can use piano, and we can use organ, all those to glorify God and to share his word with others and to just touch the hearts and souls of people through music with all these instruments.
It kind of goes back to the importance of I think the shepherd, right? The shepherd and taking care of his sheep, and in the context of the church, there's so many needs. There's people come into these doors and within these walls in need of something specifically different. And I think it is a job of the church to make sure we can reach as many people as possible. Now, some churches maybe don't have the resources or the space to be able to reach a vast amount of people, but Kettering has been uniquely blessed to have a lot of resources and a lot of tools to reach a large group of the community. And I believe this is just one other tool. Because
this is one of many tools.
This is one of many tools.
And we are so blessed. And some days I feel spoiled. We're getting ready for a 4-piano concert. To have 4 grand pianos. We definitely have been given a lot of gifts, and we need to share those.
And one word comes to my mind, I think we've talked about this before, is steward.
Yes.
We have this instrument, and this kind of leads us to the final question. We have this instrument, and of course, renovating it is not going to be free.
No.
People.
I'm still looking for the tree that grows the money.
Yeah, grows the money. So this is not a free venture. And
Right.
as we talked about, we talked about 5,000 individual pipes. Each will have to be cleaned. Each has components that have to be fixed due to gravity and leathering and expansion and contraction, all of these types of things. And so many people may ask, is this a smart use of our finances? And let's be honest, this is not just a question being asked here at Kettering Adventist Church. There are churches around the country, around the world even, from denomination to denomination that are battling these questions from, I believe, well-meaning members who want to know, is this a good use of our resources? Because it's not going to be a cheap venture. What would you say is the reasoning that should push Kettering to say we want to invest this money in the upkeep of this instrument?
Well, we've already spoken about the outreach through community groups and the legacy. The arts do cost a lot of money, and the arts are essential to society being healthy. Mm-hmm. And when we look at, we just had a sermon series earlier this summer, and Pastor Andrea talked about the Temple of Solomon and how elaborate the worship was, how much gold was gilded everywhere, and just no expense was spared to give God glory.
And each had a purpose.
Right. And she did talk some about the music. We don't have as much information about the music of the temple, but we know there was music, and there was a whole tribe of Israel. Their job was to do the music.
Levites, right?
The Levites
Yes.
in the temple, they did the music. And so from a spiritual standpoint, we're to praise God.
Right.
And we're to lavish in our praise.
Yes. And this instrument is just another opportunity to ensure that those who come into this space have that experience of being
Absolutely.
connected to God. And it's also a responsibility of being good stewards, because we know that the community finds value in this instrument. We've talked about that before, all the groups who come outside of these walls to experience it. As well as those who come here on a weekly basis to worship. And so we have been blessed with this instrument. Again, like you said, this is not something that we installed or we initially purchased, or we weren't here when it was purchased, but it falls on us to have the responsibility to make sure it can endure to future generations. And while it isn't free, and we know that there's a price tag associated with it, it is our responsibility to make sure not only does the instrument last, not just for the sake of the instrument, but for the sake of a healthy and strong community. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Listen, Rachel, thank you so much for taking this time to talk to us about the Kettering Organ, the Cassavant Organ Opus
3089.
3089. I knew it was a 3 and an 8 in there somewhere, but 3089. And we just want to invite all of the community to join us as we celebrate and support the rejuvenation of this instrument. We know so many people are connected to it and blessed by it within Kettering Community Church and abroad. And we invite everyone in any way that you can, any way that you're able, to support this rejuvenating project. It's going to happen over a number of years. About how long do you think it'll take?
We're well on track to have our deposit down this fall, and that will secure 2028 start date. And so summer 2028, hopefully everything goes to plan, and
Right.
we start then, and it'll be about 6 to 9 months of work till it's reinstalled.
And for those who may be willing, who want to support, they're not part of Kettering Adventist Church, or seeing around the country, seeing it in this community, you say, I like that organ. I've been there. I want to make sure it sustains. How can we? And you want to give to the organ. You want to make sure the money doesn't get diverted. We have an external account with the Dayton Foundation, so that every donation given to this fund will go directly to the rejuvenation of the organ.
And anyone that wants to give, you go to the Dayton Foundation website and look specifically for the Kettering Organ Restoration, and that will put it directly into that account for this instrument. If you don't specify, it goes to the General Foundation, which does great things, but we are asking you give it to directly the organ.
You can check out the QR code right here, and that'll take you directly, or links in the comment and description of this video, that'll take you directly to a giving page that'll go specifically to this organ. So thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Looking forward to making some good music with you.
Indeed.